You are listening to Radio Maria Canada. We now present the Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi. Good morning and welcome to the Health Hub. I'm Kathy Biasi, your host, and along with our producer, Alex Diaz, we would like to welcome you to our show this morning. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Kathy. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Keeping it afloat right now.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Managing. There's quite a bit going on at Radio Maria, but everything's going well.
Excellent. Good news. Good news. Today's show is being taped, so no opportunity for calling in, but please do follow us on our social sites. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and we are at the Health Hub RMC on all three places. And do email us at thh@radiomaria.ca if you have any questions or concerns. And please do subscribe to our podcast. We are the Health Hub on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, all your favorite podcast platforms. And you can also find our podcast on the Radio Maria Canada website, which is radiomaria.ca, and on my website, which is kathybiasi.com. So I post a lot of different studies to my website and to, mostly to Facebook and Twitter. And those are basically the two places I like to put on studies. And I came across an interesting one about brain freeze, so now's the time that we're having our slush. It's been so hot, slushies and ice creams. And I'm sure everybody has experienced brain freeze. It's part of what we do in the summer, right?
Yes.
And it was really interesting because all these little things that happen in our bodies, little things, it's like, why does that happen? Why do we get goosebumps? But this one actually explains it. So brain freeze happens when you're eating something that is really cold and you're eating it too fast. We all know why it happens. But do we all know why it happens? You know how it happens, I guess, is the better way. It's from eating something cold. The scientific term, I'll try this, is called sphenopalatine ganglia neuralgia. How's that? Right?
See, that's why you're on the other side of the class.
Yeah, well, I'm reading it and I've broken it down into syllables, so I'm really not that clever. But anyways, that's what brain freeze is called in the
Happy,
smart
you're not supposed
people.
to give away our secrets.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I do it all the time. For instance, like today, our guest is Kianna Gnap, and she spells it Gnap. So I went everywhere and crossed out the G. Anyways, that's something different. Whatever. Let's get on to the study. So they were they, for whatever reason, decided that they wanted to figure out what happens and why it happens when we get this brain freeze. So our mouths are very vascularized, especially our tongue. So, and that's why we take the temperature there. That means a lot of blood vessels and things in our mouth. So when we drink something cold, and when you drink something fast and cold, it doesn't give the mouth enough time to absorb the cold well. So the mouth will warm it up, I guess, so we don't get that brain freeze. So when you slurp something really cold, it changes the temperature in the back of your throat at the juncture of the internal carotid artery, which feeds blood to the brain, and the anterior cerebral artery, which is where the brain tissue starts. So, that's just big words, but anyways. So the one thing that our brain doesn't like is for a quick change. So the brain can't actually feel the pain despite all these neurons, but the pain is associated with brain freeze is sensed by the receptors in the outer covering in the brain called the meninges. Anyways, it goes into this long explanation of it all. But what I really wanted to get at for everybody is a way that you can sort of slow down this brain freeze when you get it is to put your tongue to the back of your mouth to try and warm up that. So as far back as you can to try and warm up that area. And they call it jamming at the tongue, jamming your tongue at the roof of your mouth, or drink something warm. But oftentimes you're
don't have that
in circles while you've got the brain freeze. But sticking your tongue at the top of your mouth can actually slow it down. So the whole long and short of all that is, if you have brain freeze, put your tongue at the top of your mouth, and that will help to stop that sensation or even pain in the middle of your forehead when you've overdosed yourself with something cold. So just want to pass that. I thought it was very interesting. So when I find something interesting, I toss it back to you guys. So hope you enjoyed that one. Next time you have ice cold brain freeze, you're going to think of us. There you go.
That was definitely something that I'll remember for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, yes. A lot of people are going to go, oh, I heard that. What am I supposed to do? Oh, what am I supposed to do? Anyway, so hopefully you'll think of it and it'll give you some relief. But moving on to our show today, this is we're talking about feet. I'm a feet person. I love feet. So talking about this is fun for me. Kianna Gnap is a fitness professional, athlete, and foot nerd. She's a certified professional and group fitness trainer, and she earned her Bachelor of Science at Western University and went on to pursue a Master's in European History from Kingston University in London, UK. After completing her schooling, Kianna rediscovered her inherent passion for fitness and changed her career trajectory at the age of 26. She is currently working as a fitness coach at Orangetheory. Plug for Orangetheory. I go to Orangetheory, or was going before COVID. Love it. And this year she graduated from the Foot Collective Foot Nerd program and is enthusiastic about teaching others how to build a strong foot. Really interesting conversation. We don't think about our hand grip, our foot grip. We bring this up in conversation, but it's very interesting, a very interesting conversation. So that's about Kianna, and everybody will be back to meet her in just a couple of minutes.
Another heartbreak day. Feels like you're miles away. Don't even need no shade when your sun don't shine. Too many passing dreams roll by like limousines. It's hard to keep believing when it pass you by and by. Again, I know your prayers ain't been answered yet. I know you're feeling like you got nothing left. Well, lift your head. It ain't over yet, ain't over yet. So keep walking, soldier, keep moving on. Keep walking until the morning comes. Keep walking, soldier, keep moving on and lift your head. It ain't over yet, ain't over yet. Echoing inside your head are the words that your sweet mama said. Shoot for the moon, my dear. So you took game out of this atmosphere between high stakes and pump fakes. You're feeling like you can't vibrate. I can hold your hand, but I can't turn your eyes to freedom. I know your heart been broke again. I know your prayers ain't been answered yet. I know you're feeling like you got nothing left. Well, lift your head. It ain't over yet, ain't over yet. So keep walking, soldier, keep moving on. Keep walking until the morning comes. Keep walking, soldier, keep moving on and lift your head. It ain't over yet, ain't over yet. Hold on, Lord ain't finished yet. Hold on, he'll get you through this. Hold on, these are the promises I never will forget. I never will forget. So hold on, the Lord ain't finished yet. Hold on, he'll get you through this. Hold on, these are the promises I never will forget. I I never will forget. I know your heart been broke again. I know your prayers ain't been answered yet. But it ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. So get up and move. Keep walking. Soldier, keep moving. Keep walking until the morning. You got to move. Keep walking. Soldier, keep moving on and lift your head. It ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. Lift up your head now. Keep walking. Soldier, keep moving. Lift up your head now. Keep walking until the morning. Keep believing. Keep walking. Soldier, keep moving on and lift your head. It ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. Keep walking. Keep walking. Soldier, keep moving on. Keep walking. Keep walking. Soldier, keep moving on. Keep walking.
Welcome back, everybody. Our show today is being taped, so no opportunity for calling in, but please do follow us on our social sites. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you'd like to email us, we are at thh@radiomaria.ca. Kianna, welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us today.
Hi, Kathy. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's been a topic I've wanted to talk about for a while, so I'm glad we found a specialist in the area. Now, you've certainly come, we read that you've got a master's in European history, and you've kind of circled back into fitness. How did that journey go?
Yeah, I guess it's just the part of my life that interests me the most and that I'm the most passionate about. I will say I did grow up like always in the sciences, like through high school, through university. History was just something that I definitely enjoyed it, and I still do enjoy it. But I mean, you can't deny that underlying passion you have for fitness, and it's also something that I just grew up with in my family. So my mom and my dad they're both very high-level athletes in their day, and my mom was a fitness instructor, so I just grew up basically in a gym, watching her instruct, watching her coach. And my dad was a national level wrestler. So, I mean, I just have that part embedded in me. So it really came down to figuring out what I liked the most and what I wanted to pursue. So it just was so natural that when I was done with that history degree, I just focused in and thought, well, fitness is really where my passion lies and where I want to spend, or what I want to spend my life doing. So that's how that big circle worked.
The big circle. And it's funny, I just read an article this morning about how parents are really the first, in so many areas, of course, but are really the first influencers of their kids when it comes to physical health and physical education and being active. So you just sort of brought to life this whole article that I read. It's great.
Yes, totally.
And do you have siblings that are also involved in the health space?
Well, I have two older sisters. One is involved she's an online coach. She's a professional bodybuilder, actually. And then my other sister, she's not quite into the fitness end of things, but we all grew up with it. It was something that was never like forced on us. We just saw like the example of our parents, and we just naturally, gravitated towards that, which is awesome. Like, not to be forced to do anything, but to just see it and see the benefits of it. I mean, my parents are both happy, like strong people. So, it's just so natural.
You are listening to
do you
Radio Maria
enjoy
Canada.
Working out and
We now
exercising,
continue
or do you
with the
enjoy
program,
the way
The
it
Health
makes you
Hub,
feel after?
hosted
Because
by
I'm
Kathy
always,
Biasi.
of that space where like I run, and I actually was at Orangetheory before it was shut down for the COVID, but I always felt better after. Sometimes during it, it's like, oh my gosh, why do I, especially running, like, oh my gosh,
I mean,
why am I doing this?
I totally get that. Yeah. I mean, I have both days. Like, there's some days where like I really enjoy the process and I enjoy the actual doing the working out. Plus I like the side effects, but then like there's some days where it's just a struggle rate sometimes, and I'm just like, I say the same thing. Why do I do this to myself?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the reward that comes after, right? That keeps you going back. So.
And what's your favorite type of exercising?
I really enjoy strength training right now. It's something that I never, like, I guess especially females in general, when they think of staying in shape, they always think of cardio, right? Mm-hmm. Go to cardio first. Yeah. But just strength training has been a huge, just an impact on my overall health. So I encourage all ladies especially, and I know men are easier to convince that way, but yeah, strength training, lift those heavy objects and you'll be good.
I did strength training a bit about 10 years ago. And now I'm kind of back to, I think you evolve. I think you change. And maybe it's because you get bored of one thing or another. But I did some, what I consider heavy lifting about 10 years ago. And I broke my leg a couple of times, so it kind of aggravated my leg. So I've changed over to more of the Orangetheory type of training, but I've really started focusing right now on running. So I think you change. Maybe you get bored of one thing, or your body's calling out for something else. But an interesting dynamic. So that's great for you. But you've really taken on this interest in feet. And I've always had an interest in feet. First of all, I love feet. I know the people that hate feet or they love feet, but I've always been a foot person.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Oh, I really am. And I kick off my shoes whenever I can. I love to be outside and have the earth under my feet. Where did you get your passion?
So if you asked me like a year ago, I would say, I hate feet. They're stupid. They hurt. Like, why? But I went through training and actually completing my first marathon last fall, so in October.
Amazing.
And right after, I was in excruciating pain. Like, I knew you were probably going to hurt after you run a marathon, but like it was awful. Just so much inflammation in my feet, in my ankles. About a week after, I just went straight to the hospital. I was in so much pain, and I thought I for sure fractured something in my left foot. I knew I had plantar fasciitis. I had it before when I was younger, and it came back during training because I increased my running volume drastically, like in a really short period of time. So yeah, really bad pain after the marathon. Went to the doctor. I went to a chiropodist. I went to a chiropractor. All these medical professionals saying, "Oh, that's what happens. Like, feet hurt, you ran a marathon, like that's normal." But that answer was not really good enough for me. People run marathons and they don't get hurt. They're fine. It turns out I didn't have any like fracture or anything in my foot. It was just a lot of swelling, a lot of inflammation. So it just took time for it to go down. But that experience kind of definitely propelled me to just do research on my own. So that is where I stumbled onto the Foot Collective. They're a great company, Canadian-based company in Ottawa. They have so much information out there. I signed up for a few of their online seminars, and then I went further and I submitted application to take their Foot Nerd program. So what they have out there information-wise completely changed my view around feet. I started actually researching how to build strong feet. So that's the main takeaway of all this, is that your feet hurt because they're weak, so you need to strengthen your feet. So it's basically that marathon experience that started that. I've
interviewed somebody that talked about breathing. I think we take for granted the things that our body does. And then when we push, it pushes back. I broke my leg and I was in a cast for quite a while. And it wasn't my leg that hurt. It wasn't my hip. When I got out of that cast, it was 6 months. The pain in my foot was unbelievable because the muscle, it went completely flat. And my biggest part of retraining my body after being in a cast was strengthening my foot. And you don't know it or realize it until you've damaged it or something happens like you running the marathon. So it's a piece. It's the first thing that we put on the ground in the morning. It's what is essential for us to move, and we don't pay it its due homage. I know, like, just from me, and I guess maybe, was it because you pushed your feet too fast? Were they not trained enough? When you look back, would you have said, that is a piece that I didn't even think about?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it seems like, right?
Yeah.
I remember in the training for it, I couldn't, like, the pain, like the plantar fasciitis pain was really bothering me, and this is when I didn't know about, foot strengthening. And I think I switched my shoes. I bought 3 pairs of shoes during, like, only about 12 weeks of training. I was searching after, like, cushion and, like, different types of support and stuff like that. So what I'm sure we're going to get into during this talk is about how cushion in shoes actually doesn't do anything to help your strength. It actually weakens your feet even further. So no, like, I wasn't training my foot strength. I was just training my running, right?
Mm-hmm. So lesson learned.
Yeah.
Lesson learned. What's plantar fasciitis? This is something totally different than the actual structural damage to your foot?
So plantar fasciitis, it's the weakening, or it's the tearing, breaking down of the plantar fascia. So it's that tissue that runs along the arch of your foot. Extremely common. I think about 1 in 10 people in Canada, that's the latest stat I found, will experience that in their life. So you don't have to be an athlete to get that. But it's just basically, it's a load-bearing issue where that plantar fascia is not able to take the load that you place on it.
Again, is it because we're not using our foot right?
Yes, and it has a lot to do with the alignment that you're in, because posture, it begins and ends at the foot. So the foot is, see, this is why it's amazing. Has to do with the alignment, starting from your hips, starting from the torque of your hips, and also the muscles of your foot that can't help support that arch as well. Yeah.
So let's build the foot. So once we start taking it apart and going into the different areas where your foot can be impacted, can you give us an anatomical idea of how the foot is put together? Yeah,
for sure. And first, I just want to say a quote from Da Vinci, which perfectly, sums up the foot. He said, "The human foot is a masterpiece of engineering and a work of art." Let's see why that is. Each foot has 26 bones. So that means both the feet together hold a quarter of the bones in your body. So, just that alone is pretty amazing. Each foot also has 33 joints. So that's a ton of joints in a small area. And if you think a joint like your elbow joint, it flexes and it extends. It has 2 points of articulation there. So just imagine if each of those 33 joints in your foot had 2 points of articulation. That's a ton of movement that should be happening in your foot. Then we have 19 muscles in each foot. There are actually 4 layers of muscle in your foot. So muscles support load. We have intrinsic muscles, so they originate and they insert, so they begin and end within your foot. And then you also have extrinsic muscles, which originate in the lower leg, and then they insert into your foot. And the reason why that's important, or important to appreciate in your feet, is because it's those intrinsic muscles that are, especially in this modern shoe-wearing world, those intrinsic muscles are super weakened right now in most people. And then our extrinsic muscles are really overworked. So one of the most common complaints I hear among members is they're suffering from shin splints and tight calves. So those muscles are doing not only the work of being a shin and being the calf, but they're doing the work of stabilizing your feet, because those intrinsic muscles are so weak that they need help from that lower leg area.
What's causing the weakness?
So that comes down to what we're placing our shoes in every day, which is cushion and stiff, rigid footwear, not allowing our muscles to actually load bear.
So it's the structure of the shoe.
Yes. Footwear is a huge, yeah.
You know, when my kids were born, the doctor told me early on, you know, once they started to walk. It's funny, it actually evolved over, because I have 4 kids, it evolved. But my son, the doctor told me to put him into rigid shoes right away, you know, the little white booties, to help with the structure of the foot. Now, is that, you know, it did evolve over time, but is that the absolute wrong way to do things?
Yeah, like I would say that's complete opposite of what you want to do. Yeah. And it's funny because I grew up, like, I heard that too, right? Mm-hmm. But actually, I mean, you want the foot to, it's a robust, like, body part. It should be resilient and strong. And the only way you do that is by letting the muscles take load, letting the muscles work, right? Like you said, with when you broke your leg and you took your leg out of the cast, or anyone that takes any part of their body out of a cast, I mean, look at what happens to the muscles after. I mean, one leg is smaller than the other leg, one arm is smaller than the other arm. So that's essentially what we're doing with our feet when we put them in shoes. The muscles atrophy because they're not being used. And I know another tale you hear is, like, if you wear flat shoes, you're going to get flat feet. Again, totally untrue. Flat feet are caused by weak arches. So arches that aren't doing the job of taking load. So you begin to overpronate and your arch falls flat. So, I mean, the best thing for kids is to actually spend time barefoot. I know it's, like, seen as it's naughty to, like, be barefoot, but I mean, grow those strong, like, resilient feet, and I mean, you'll be pain-free.
Well, does it start at the feet? The whole posture thing start at the feet? Why are the feet so important for overall health?
Yeah. So let's talk about the function, like, of your foot then, to answer that question. So your feet, the number one role are their sensors. So there's thousands, millions, I don't know the number, but of nerve endings in your foot that tell your brain about your body's position in space. So that's called proprioception. So we need our feet to sense the ground beneath us, to tell us where we are. So that's kind of why your posture begins at your feet. So again, going back to shoes, when we put chunky pieces of footwear on our feet, we completely inhibit that feedback between the ground and our brain, right? Mm-hmm. You see this with people. I mean, a high heel is an extreme example, but ask someone wearing a high heel to stand on one leg, right? They're going to be wobbling, like, all over the place. Ask them to take that high heel off and just stand flat on the ground. I mean, so much more stable, right? So you need that feedback loop between your feet and the ground and your brain for your posture. So once that's kind of inhibited, then you see compensations take form. So you might supinate, like, roll your foot outwards. You might pronate inwards, create flat feet. Knees start caving in. Your hips get sore because it just works all the way up the kinetic chain. Even back pain, low back pain, often a result of what you have on your feet. Yeah. Interesting.
So would you say that it starts at the foot and works its way up, or can the foot be impacted top down?
Top down too, as well, for sure. So you can't really talk about feet without talking about hips then. So I think I just mentioned quickly earlier, your hips is actually what creates the torque of your foot placement. So a huge problem today is we sit so much today, right? We have a chair everywhere. Chairs are everywhere for our convenience. So we have extremely tight hips in this Western population. So we often see a lack of external rotation. So that's the hip, the ball and socket joint, moving externally away from the body. So that rotation is what creates the torque and positions our feet. So if you have, like, overpronation or flat feet, you can often get someone to, you can do this test if you're listening at home. You can do this right now. If you stand up and you just slightly bend your knees and you pull your knees apart slightly, you will see that your arch lifts off the ground slightly, and even more if you also squeeze your butt while you're doing that. So just that little action of, opening up your hips just a tiny bit, you see that torque lifts your arch off the ground. So it's really amazing to see. I mean, it's a whole kinetic chain, like bottom up and top down, that, we aren't very aware of. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. So another example of the systemic interconnection of the whole body. It's amazing when you take it piece by piece and then totally. You pull it all together into the big picture. We're going to take a quick break right now, come back and maybe Kianna will talk about how we can improve the structure of our feet. I think that's, once people have understood now the importance a little bit, we haven't been able to get too deep, but the feet are important. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll talk about how to improve on our structure. So everyone will be back in a sec.
I'm not about to give up because I heard you say there's gonna be brighter days. There's gonna be brighter days. I won't stop, I'll keep my head up. No, I'm not here to stay. There's gonna be brighter days. There's gonna be brighter days. I just might bend, but I won't break. As long as I can see your face. Might bend, but I won't break. As long as I can see your face. When life won't play along and right keeps going wrong and I can't seem to find my way. I know where I am found, so I won't let it drag me down. No, I'll keep dancing anyway. When life won't
You are listening to The Health Hub here on Radio Maria Canada, a Catholic voice wherever you are. To contact us and be a part of the show, email thh@radiomaria.ca. We now continue with the program. Here once again is your host, Kathy Biasi.
Welcome back, everybody. We're talking to Kianna Gnap, having a great conversation about our feet. And Kianna, we've given everyone sort of a general idea of the function of the feet, and we didn't talk about the nerves too much, but you did bring it up. It's something that I meant to talk about in passing. We think about our feet as this rough, callous thing, but you've said that there are a lot of nerves that feed into our feet. So I just want to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, just I guess that just works with the whole proprioception. So just the nerve endings in your feet and how, that's what sends the signal to your brain about your body's position. So, and again, that's something that's inhibited when we wear, chunky, stiff footwear on our feet.
So a quick question has just popped into my head. People that have like calluses on their feet or very rough under the skin on the bottom of their feet, does that impact the nerves at all? Do you know, or is that a totally different thing?
I think that might be a different thing. Because in the barefoot community, if you have roughed up callous feet, that's a good sign. That your feet are resilient, and you can walk barefoot, on pavement on a whole matter of surfaces. So it's actually, if you have a little bit of callus on your feet, all the power to you. That means you have resilient, strong feet. Yeah.
So you've introduced the subject of footwear. We've talked briefly about it. We can't go barefoot all the time. I know it's ideal. Yeah. For me, it's ideal. What should people be looking for and tending to? And I'm gonna take a step here and say that I imagine good footwear is probably a little bit more costly. But what are people looking for in good shoes when they go shopping, or what should they be looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, shout out to Foot Collective for making this super clear. There are 4 points that I can tell you what to look for in your footwear if you want to build strong, resilient feet. So you can remember it really easily with WTFF. So I'll go through all of them. So W, wide. So when you look at footwear today on the shelves, they all go into a point. If you really look at it, they're all widest at the ball of your foot. But if you look at what the natural human foot looks like, if you have a baby or a toddler around, take a look at their feet. It's widest from the big toe to the little toe. So that's what we mean about a wide foot or a wide piece of footwear. So you want to have your toes essentially should have space between them. You should be able to wiggle them around. But unfortunately, most conventional shoes today, they go into that weird pointed shape. Again, a high heel would be the most extreme example, a men's dress shoe. But look at running shoes. They all have that they're widest at the ball of the foot and not the toes. So that's something to look out for. Then we have T, so thin, and that relates to how close the bottom of the shoe is to the ground. So thin meaning not a ton of cushion, and just not a ton of cushion between the ground, because again, you want to be able to feel what's beneath you on the ground. You want to know what's happening down there. And again, this can improve your balance and your foot, the strength of those intrinsic muscles. And then the first F will be flat. So if you have the shoe just placed on the shelf or on the ground, it's touching the ground from the toe to the heel. So again, most running shoes, especially today, they have kind of an uplift at the big toe. And that kind of forms a superficial toe extension, which is potentially harmful for our feet because your toes should naturally extend. The last part of your foot to leave the ground when you're walking or running is your big toe. But if your big toe is already held up at that extended angle, there's no reason for your toe to do that movement, and it just kind of gets stuck up in that position and it becomes stiff. So you want to make sure, that shoe is completely flat. There's no like weird uplift on the heel or toe or anything like that. That way your foot can actually do the full movement from heel to toe, lift off. And then the last F will be flexible. So the shoes that I wear, I can crumple them up and I can twist them side to side. I can, just shove them in a purse basically if I wanted to. So this is actually the opposite of what I went to a chiropodist when I was having foot pain, and she said, I need stiff, rigid shoes, kind of like what you mentioned too. But yeah, actually the opposite. So your foot should be able to move as well as it can barefoot if you put it in a shoe. So the shoe should not have any rigidity to it. Your ankle can move around. Your foot can move around a bit. It can adjust. It can stabilize. That way you can build strong feet and build strong ankles. People roll their ankles all the time, right? This is because your ankles, they're weak. The muscles around there are weak. They don't know what to do when they have to stabilize. And that leads to, rolling ankles and injuries and all sorts of things like that. So those are 4 great things to look for, or even just be aware of when you're shopping for shoes. Like, see if those 4 things you can check off on conventional shoes. And I mean, I'd be surprised if you can check those things off.
So where do you shop?
It's just, there are barefoot minimal shoe companies out there.
Okay.
We're getting more of them. Right now, the ones that aren't too bad that you can find in shops right now is Merrell. I know they're known more for like hiking, but they do have like some wider fit shoes. There's some New Balance trainers. You'd have to get like the training shoes, which are generally made closer to the ground. They'd be a little bit flatter. But then I can list, there's some like that you can shop online for. Vivo Barefoot is my personal favorite. I love them. They check all those boxes. There's Zero shoes, Zero with an X. There's Groundies, Barefoot Wear. I believe they're UK. There's a bunch.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned something about your big toe coming off last. Do you know what the proper step? Can you walk us through what the proper alignment of the foot is in a correct step? Yeah.
So I can talk about it in terms of like where the pressure is on the bottom of the foot. So if you're walking, you walk heel to toe. So the heel would hit first. You'd actually supinate over to the lateral side of your foot.
Okay, the outside.
And then you would, heel slightly on the outside. Then the ball of your foot would touch down. And then you're going to pronate a little bit. And then that's what's going to make your big toe leave off last. So it's that 4 points of contact.
So I'm doing this with my hand, so now I can see why there are so many joints and so many areas that are able to bend. Because that's how many different movements in one step, right? Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And what if
walking is very complicated.
It's funny because we had at our clinic a few years back, we had a man come in and talk about proper walking, and people were amazed at it, at him just showing the proper walking. Now, if you're not walking properly, if you've been in high heels or whatever, anyways, if you're having issues with your feet, can we exercise out of them? Is there a way to strengthen or certain exercises that you would recommend to work on the health? It's almost like, people don't realize until they're lifting heavier weights how much their grip means, right? The grip of your hand and the strength of your feet, they're kind of something that we don't think too much about until we're in trouble. But are there exercises that you can do to strengthen your feet?
Yes, there absolutely is. So there's a really smart lady, Irene Davis. She came out with an amazing article called the Foot Core System. So she compares the bottom of your foot similar to its role in stabilizing your foot and the strength of your foot, similar to the role of like your torso, your six-pack abs in stabilizing your lumbo-pelvic hip region. So there's an awesome graphic of it, and it has it shows the bottom of your foot, the arch of your foot. It shows a six-pack on it. And it says, if your foot had a six-pack, more people would train them. And it's just so funny. So basically what she says is that, yes, those intrinsic muscles, so the muscles that begin and end within your foot, they can be strengthened and they can help to create more stability and help hold up that arch. So there's a really simple exercise if you're standing up. You kind of try to do what I said before with pull your knees apart, try and get that arch lifted up a little bit, just a soft bend in the knees. And then you're going to really concentrate hard. You're going to try and keep your toes straight, keep your toes flat. And you're going to think about bringing the ball of your foot down towards your heel. So you want to close that space between the ball of your foot and your heel. And that's basically you're flexing your arch. You're flexing all those muscles in the arch. And just like you can do that anywhere. You could be standing at the sink brushing your teeth. You could be in line at the grocery store, and you could just think about that movement, just flexing the arch of your foot, and just doing that movement they showed how it increases foot strength, how it actually decreased in foot size. So people's feet shrunk in size just a tiny bit, and that showed that their muscles strengthened and it lifted up that arch area a little bit. So it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. The importance of the foot muscle in overall balance must be a huge factor too. And, as we age, older people they tend to fall a bit more. And, I'm thinking ahead, if we had that foundation strong, maybe that could be a little bit of a deterrent or help with stabilizing posture and stability in general.
Yeah, totally. And then it also goes back to the hip, right? Those stabilizing muscles in the hip that are going to help prevent falls too. But also, if you're on a thick piece of footwear that you can't feel the ground with, then again that feedback is cut off. Training balance, is a foot strengthening exercise as well. Even better if you can train balance on an uneven surface or on like a 2x4, something like a balance beam. That way you're working your feet and your hips and your core stability as well, all at the same time. So yeah, definitely helps to prevent those falls that seem to happen in old age, unfortunately.
Is this something that's part of your usual routine, is literally working on foot strength?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
it is.
And I will say just anyone out there, just spending more time barefoot is foot strengthening in itself, right? So taking away that footwear that blocks basically your ability to use your muscles and just let your feet be free on the ground, let them take load, because essentially when you wear footwear, you're removing that load from the muscles in your foot. So, absolutely. I practice balance daily. I'm barefoot whenever I can.
There's a real difference here between the power of moving properly and exercise. They do weave in and out of each other, but you're talking about proper movement, sort of in a different context than exercise. And I think it's important to differentiate the two and then maybe bring them together. Have you noticed a difference in your exercise capability or goals that you've wanted to achieve since you've started working on your feet?
Absolutely. So it's your first question. So movement and exercise, two different things. Movement is a huge array of just any time that you're moving your body. I know it sounds obvious, but movement includes every type of moving, whether it's gardening, whether it's walking to get the mail, whether it's vacuuming in your house. That's movement. Exercise is a very small subset of movement. It's just those repetitive exercises that we do in the gym. So it's like your bench press, it's like your squat, those sorts of things. So basically, if we can allow ourselves to move more often, in the long run, that's going to be way more beneficial for our bodies than an hour spent in the gym, right? You can go to the gym for an hour. Wow, that's great. But an hour in the gym isn't going to make up for, the other 12 hours of a day that you spend sitting in a chair, So, if people can just move more often, and you will start to move better. And then, that exercise can just be kind of like a little bonus for you.
I think you bring up such a valid point, and it's something that we've started talking about the amount of sitting. That is, everyone now knows that we sit too much. We don't move that much. We've become more of an exercise versus movement. And I think people get into their minds that if they go hard at it for an hour, that's fine. And that takes care of it. They can get their 10,000 steps in or do whatever in an hour and a half. That doesn't take the place of just moving our body, does it?
Totally. No. We've become we are sedentary. Just because you go to the gym every day, you can go to the gym every day and still be a sedentary person, right? So yeah, we've really lost that. And that just comes down to, I mean, I'm pretty sure exercise was, I forget where I heard this, but like going to the gym and exercising was it's a modern invention based on how we became sedentary people, right? Yeah, even if you went back 100, maybe 150 years now, but like people would think it's so weird. We have gyms and we have to like exercise, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So, you know, those areas of the world that are the healthiest, they don't go to the gyms, right? They're outside, they're pruning their trees, they're walking around, they're talking to neighbors. Totally. And we can see how it's impacting our body just by our conversation today.
Yeah.
Now, are you training? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Finish off, Kianna.
Oh, sorry, no. Oh, I was just going to say, like, if you incorporate more movement into your life, you will, because, I mean, I'm an athlete. I love the challenges that, you know, exercise gives me, and I still have goals, like, in the gym and stuff, but I don't stop moving outside, and you will see a difference in the gym, in those, you know, athletic performance when you do start incorporating more of this into your life. So it's really cool to see. Yeah. Are
you working directly with people on feet health, or was this something of your own, just an interest?
Yeah, it started as something, just on my own, because I'm basically a test subject to myself, to prove that, you know, I can build stronger feet. I can heal myself of, you know, nasty plantar fasciitis. But it's something that I've been passing down to my members at Orangetheory, starting to definitely help some people that way. My family is totally on board. So yeah, it's really awesome to see.
Excellent. So if people wanted to get in touch with you or reach out and ask you questions, what is the best way to do that?
Yeah, the best way is on Instagram, just at Kianna Gnap. You can message me there. I have my email information up there, and that's where I do most of my posts. I do a few posts a week, all educational content about your hips, your mobility, and your feet, and a few exercise things on there too. Yeah. Excellent.
Well, it's been a very informative show, and it's gone by quite quickly. Thank you so much for joining us and educating us. Very, very interesting, to say the least.
Oh, thank you so much, Kathy. That was a lot of fun.
Excellent. So everybody, we will have all of Kianna's information when the podcast comes out. So if you want to reach out to her. And Kianna, again, thank you so much. And everyone, will talk to you next week on the Health Hub.
You have been listening to The Health Hub, hosted by